Appreciate you guys being here. It's Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. We're going to be talking today about your business DNA. Okay. Um, I don't know how many people knew this or had ever seen this before, but before I got into probate mastery, before I took probate mastery over, and not before I was doing probate, so I was already doing a lot of probate, but before I started training and coaching heavily on probate, I built a coaching program called the Agent DNA. So before those of you that are in here that are investors, before you go, oh, this is just for real estate agents, let me jump out. I'm going to tell you this is for everyone who has a service that you're providing to customers. So it just so happened that I called this the agent DNA. And the idea behind it is that we're all built and comprised of DNA. As a species, as humans, we are built of DNA. Okay. Animals out there have DNA. Plants out there have DNA. Everything has DNA, and the DNA dictates what that organism displays, what traits they display. So if you have human DNA, you're sitting on this Zoom, listening in, and hopefully interacting. If you don't, and you're a plant, you're probably not here in this Zoom. Okay. So you guys are all here because you all have the same DNA. And I believe that your business has the same DNA. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about your DNA as a business owner, as an agent, as an investor. And the reality is, anyone with a service business, this is going to apply to you. So you could be an HVAC contractor, and this is going to apply to you. So if you have a service that you are selling or offering to the public, this is how you build your business. Okay. So as I get into it, I just want to let those of you that I hear a clicking somewhere on somebody's image. If you are not on mute, go ahead and mute yourself. Just like everything else that we do, this is going to be an interactive class, so I want you guys to pop your hands up. It's a big enough room to where I'm going to ask you to not go to not unmute yourself and chime in, but to actually raise your hand. So if you don't know how to do that, you're going to go down to the bottom of your screen and pull that little control panel up at the bottom of your screen and click reactions. And there's a bar on reactions that says raise hand. And if for some strange reason you can't find that, make sure that your camera is on and start frantically waving at me, and I will call on you. Okay, so I want some interaction. I want you guys to ask questions, to share your stories, different things like that. So this needs to be an interactive class. It's not probate only. I just want those of you that are like, hey, I'm only doing probate. Don't be discouraged, because this is going to apply to probate, but this must apply to your entire business. All right. So this is kind of an introductory class. I plan on going deeper into each one of these topics as we progress over the next several months. So if this is valuable to you, I'm going to encourage you to join our workshops in future weeks. If you don't know, we do a workshop every week, alternating weeks. One week is a role play workshop where we come together and we practice our phone prospecting technique. Very much of a focus on probate prospecting calls or pre-probate prospecting calls. Okay. The alternating week, always at this time, is a training workshop. We're going to try to start streaming this live inside of our Facebook group and put it on YouTube and things like that. But for now, you have to show up live. Okay. So jump on here every other Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern time. And then the alternating Wednesday at the same time is going to be a role play. So we're going to dive into our real estate DNA, our business DNA today. So a little bit of an introduction. Let me find out from everyone on this call, where do you feel your business is? One of the things with our coaching program that we frequently do is we kind of check in. And I'm not going to ask you guys to unmute and share, but internally, answer this for yourself, and if you want to raise your hand, how do you feel about your business? Is your business on a scale of 1 to 10? Is it a 10? Are you just killing it? Everything is absolutely amazing and you've got all the momentum in the world? Or is it somewhere in the middle? Where is your business DNA? And I would anticipate that if you're here on this call, it's probably because you want your score, your business health to improve a little bit. Even if it's a 10 today, maybe you're saying, hey, you know what? With some adjustments, I could make it even better. I could recalibrate my scale. Okay. If it's a 3 today, what do we need to do to get that business health score higher? Okay, and this is one of the things that we check in with every single week when we're coaching together. So that's hopefully why you're here. You recognize that there's room for growth, and you want to push forward. So let's talk about what this class is and isn't. Kim Walatich is going to be able to answer this. You don't need to answer, Kim. But we talked this morning about what the job of an agent or an investor or someone running their business is kind of the chief executive officer of your business. What is your first and primary job? And this one always kind of gets a myriad of different reactions. So this is where I am going to say, please unmute yourself if you think that you know what the number one job of a business owner is. You, as running your own business, what is your job?
To keep customers coming to your business.
To keep customers coming to your business. What else?
Marketing.
Marketing. What else?
Service.
Service. Okay. What else?
Educating.
For the
Educating. I heard someone else chiming in. Who was that? Was that Paul?
Yeah, sorry. Defining the vision for the company.
Defining the vision. Okay.
Somewhat holistic, and I just say it's to solve clients' problems.
Solve client problems. Perfect. Okay. So all of you guys, Bill, were you chiming in? Your screen lit up, so you might have something to add. Nope. Okay. So all of you guys, all of these answers are great. And I would say all of your answers are jobs of a CEO, but they're all a little bit further down the road. Okay. And they are all what we would call symptoms of the number one job of a business owner. Okay. So if you can get the number one job right, you will have a better offer for your audience. If you can get the number one job right, because you have a better offer, you have more clients coming in the door. If you get the number one job right and you have more clients coming in the door, you're going to have more problems to solve for them. You're going to be able to add more solutions. You're going to be able to go out and do more marketing. You're going to be able to refine your sales pitch. You're going to be able to grow a team. You're going to be able to do all these things that you guys were giving me today. But they are all a symptom of the number one job of a business owner. So let's rewind our job all the way back to the beginning. And I'm just going to tell you guys that the number one job of a business owner is to think. Okay. And a lot of times what happens is we get into our day-to-day life and we get into the stress of running a business and the stress of managing a house and the stress of having a finance. And maybe you have the symptoms of having clients and the stress of managing transactions and taking care of negotiations and all these different things. And all that stuff can kind of gobble up your time, and you forget to go back and think through your business. Okay. And it's the thinking that really makes a difference in your business. Okay. It's the thinking that makes the difference. So I have shared this a number of times. Some of you, this is going to be your first time hearing this story. Some of you, it's going to be your 800th time hearing this story. But I want to tell you a very embarrassing experience that I had a few years ago. Okay. Very embarrassing. So embarrassing that for about 15 minutes after this experience, I said that I'd never tell a soul what happened to me. Okay. So you guys are going to hear something that that I wasn't planning on ever telling anyone, and now it's going to be broadcast to a room this size, and a whole bunch of people will see it after the fact on YouTube. Okay, so um, I get a call, and I'd say that the majority of you guys are here because almost everyone here is connected to or at least exploring the space of probate in your business. So you are wanting to get probate business, buy more houses that are being inherited, help people going through estates. I would imagine that almost everyone here has that as a goal. If not, that's great. That's why almost everyone is here. So if you're in the probate space, a lot of you guys are going to know the name Chad Corbett. Chad was my predecessor. I took over Probate Mastery from Chad after he built it. He built it and ran it for several years. And he's very well known in the niche of probates and estates. He doesn't do the training anymore. That's me, but Chad's very well known. And if you don't know Chad, go look him up or go to Probate Mastery YouTube, and you'll see a lot of stuff from Chad. Okay, so Chad and I grew up in the same general area, in the same community. So much so that we lived 7 houses apart. I actually recently counted the number of houses between Chad's house and my house, and we were 7 houses apart. We're practically the same age. We're about a year or two apart, and we didn't know each other. Okay, we didn't know each other because in between those 7 houses, there was a national forest and a state line. Okay, so I grew up in Virginia. Chad grew up in West Virginia. And in between there's a national forest. I went to one town and one school because there's a state line between us. Chad went to another school in another town, but the environment and the culture there is identical. And it's in the mountains and it's in the country. And to admit some of the things that I have to admit about myself growing up in the country is kind of embarrassing when I'm talking to someone else that grew up in the country like I did. So we lived in the country. 7 houses is like 16 miles. Okay. So it was definitely country. So Chad calls me after we'd connected and got to know each other and got into business together. And he says, "Hey, I'm going camping, and I wanted to invite you along." And for those of you that know, if you know me or if you know Chad, this is not going to be a surprise to you. If you don't know either one of us, it's going to sound completely crazy. Okay, so I said, "Hey, I'd love to go camping. When are you going?" And Chad says, "Today." Okay, do you want to go? And my reaction was, "Sure, I'll go." Okay. So I run downstairs and I start looking through everything in my garage, and I realize I don't have camping gear. So this goes to the culture of the area. When you grew up where we did, you camped, you fished, you hunted, you did a lot of outdoorsy things that I didn't do growing up. Okay, I did a few outdoorsy things, but I was too interested in sports basically through school to pay any attention to the outdoors stuff. So rather than admit, "Hey, I don't have gear," I was like, "I'm just going to pretend that I left it at home on accident." So I get in the truck and I start driving to Hatteras Island, North Carolina. If you guys know the Outer Banks and know the East Coast, you probably know Hatteras. Hatteras is kind of a remote island on the southern edge of North Carolina's Outer Banks. It's a good 4-hour drive from where I am, and I'm on the road, and I'm driving to Hatteras, and I get about halfway, and I find a Walmart, and I pull in the Walmart parking lot and said, "Okay, I'm gonna stop here, and I'm gonna get my camping supplies." So I'm halfway from home, halfway to Hatteras, and I called Chad, and I said, "I forgot my camping gear." Not, I don't have camping gear. I forgot it. Forgot my camping gear. I just stopped at Walmart, and Chad goes, "Bruce, you know the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy is the thing that breaks after its first use, and you have to go buy it again. Don't get your stuff at Walmart. There's a Bass Pro Shop here on the island. You need to come out here and get something good and actually get some good gear." Okay, so he obviously read through my lie and knew that I probably just didn't have gear. So I said, "That's a good idea." I get back in the car. I get all the way out to Hatteras Island, which is remote. I get to the campground. We meet and greet. I said, okay, I got to go find this Bass Pro Shop. And I popped it in my phone, and guess what Hatteras Island does not have?
Bass
Okay.
Pro Shop.
Bass Pro Shop. There's nothing there. And I go, okay, outdoor supply. Guess what Hatteras Island does not have? Outdoor supply. So nothing. So I get in the car and I run about an hour and a half north, up the Outer Banks, and I get to a Walmart, which is an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes from the campground. And I go in and I was like, at least I'll go with my original plan, just get some stuff at Walmart. And when I walked in, there was nothing there. The shelves were empty, completely bare. I was able to find a kid's sleeping bag. Now, this is late October, early November. North Carolina is not a super cold climate, but I will tell you, late October and early November can get a little bit chilly. And here I am going into a camping experience for several days on the coast, and it's cool, very chilly. And all I was able to find was a kid's sleeping bag. So fortunately, a friend of ours was coming down to meet later that day, or the next day, not later that day, the next day. And he says, okay, just get through the night, survive, basically, and I'll get you your tent and I'll bring some extra camping gear for you. Okay, perfect. No problem. So I roll my sleeping bag out that night and I try to get some sleep. And as I'm kind of dozing off, the wind starts blowing and I start shivering. And I'm telling you guys, I froze my butt off for about 7 hours that night, not getting a wink of sleep, nothing, laying in the sleeping bag. I get up out of the sleeping bag and I go to my duffel bag and I start taking clothes and shoving them down inside of the sleeping bag and piling clothes that was in my duffel bag on top of myself to try to get some insulation. And the wind is blowing and everything's noisy and the moon was full and it felt like the spotlight shining through my eyeballs. And it was just completely miserable. And I didn't get any sleep until the next morning. I got up a little bit before daylight and I'm just sitting there staring blankly, miserable, staring blankly, going, I'm just going to have to leave. And as I'm staring down at this sleeping bag, I came to a realization. And I drew this the other day telling someone else this story. Okay. So I came to the realization that the opening of my sleeping bag was up here, like you guys see on my screen. So up here, I've got the opening of the sleeping bag, and I start feeling on my face how the wind was blowing. And I realized that the wind is blowing against my face in the direction of the opening of the sleeping bag that I'd been in all night. And I went, well, that's easy. I should have just turned the sleeping bag around. And I went, what an idiot. How could I not have realized that the simple solution was just turning the sleeping bag around? And I should have realized that 7 hours earlier. 7 hours earlier, I could have realized that, and I could have slept like a baby. Now I was still going to be sleeping on the ground. It was still cold. I was still in a kid's sleeping bag, but I was creating the problem with the way that my sleeping bag was, and the fix was as simple as turning. Okay. And I told myself that I wasn't going to tell anyone. And as I sat there thinking about it, I realized how great of a business metaphor this is. Okay. So if you're new in the real estate game, if you're experienced in the real estate game, if you have things that you'd like to do with your business that aren't being done, I'm going to argue that normally the solution to that challenge is a simple spinning of your business. It's a very, very simple pivot in your business. And the only reason that you might not be able to see or recognize that pivot is because you're not fulfilling the number one job of a business owner. Okay. And that number one job is what again? To think. To think. Okay. So show of hands. You guys wave at me or show your hands. How many of you do not take time on a weekly or daily is even better. Take some dedicated time to sit and look at your business from an outside perspective and think. How many of you have not taken the time to do that for a while or ever? Okay. Does anyone make that a practice in your business, that you take the time to sit from an outsider's perspective and think? Does anyone make that a practice for yourself? Okay. If you do, good for you. Do it more. Do it more. If you don't, I'm going to challenge you to take some time to think about your business. Now, this class and the agent DNA and the concepts that I'm going to show you came out of me taking some time and stepping aside and thinking, what are the core things that really truly matter in a business if it's going to be successful, specifically a service-based business? What are those core things that matter? All right. So as we get into those, I want to go over a few more things. So we want to take that time to think about our business. And I'm going to tell you, if you either aren't thinking about your business or you're thinking about it in the wrong way, then you'll get your business wrong. So I started by asking you guys what the number one goal, what your number one job was as a business owner. And I got a bunch of ideas. And remember, I told you that those ideas were primarily symptoms of the preliminary thing. And so as you start thinking about your business, I want you to be able to think through it properly. I want you to be able to, instead of thinking, how do I solve the problem that I have with this transaction? I want you to learn how to go back to the core root needs of your business. And what are the core root needs that you need in your business? What are those core needs that you have to fulfill in your business? You guys have any ideas?
Delegating work to other people.
Okay. Yep. So delegating work. Douglas, does that mean that you have to have the work in order to delegate it first?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So we're going to go back a little bit more core than delegating. Okay. Now, you may be at a place where it's time to delegate. And if you guys are at a place where it's time to delegate, I'm not telling you not to do that. I want you to be able to go deeper and say, okay, if I have business to delegate, where did I get it from? And where do I get more of it? So what else? What are some other core at the root of your business needs that you have in your business?
It seems the opposite has to be prospecting.
Let's go Carl first. Carl, what was that?
No, I was just saying it seems like the obvious answer would be prospecting then.
Prospecting. Okay. So prospecting, which is what does that give you in your business?
Well, it gives you more business if you're successful at it.
Yeah. It gives you clientele and more business, right? Yeah. Okay. Who else chimed in? I heard it. I heard a voice and I don't know who it was.
I was just going to say lead generation, which is prospecting as well.
Lead generation. Yep. Okay. Any other ideas?
Finding the business is the business.
Finding the business is the business. I like that. All right. Now, real quick, pretty much everyone here knows me, so I'm going to leave this up for a fast second and just kind of tell you guys a little bit about me, okay? Just in case you don't know, and again, I think everybody knows me, but at this point, I've sold over 1,200 properties. Some of these include team transactions, but the majority of these are personal transactions. So this was me as a listing agent. I would keep some buyers, and I still keep some buyers, but a lot of my buyers get delegated out. As a listing agent, I'm probably over 850 listings that I've sold, probably. I went to try to find these numbers recently, and I didn't do a good job. Now, the one thing that is going to confuse some people is how I say I closed 36 sides in my first year. Some of you are going to say, Bruce, I caught you in a lie. You've already told us how many houses you closed in your first year. Okay. And what is that? Those of you that think that you caught me in a lie, how many houses did I really sell in my first year?
0.
0. No, not quite. Close. How many houses did I sell in my first year?
2.
2. Close. As a matter of fact, it's in between 0 and 2. And if you struggle with math, that means it's 1. Okay. So my first year in real estate, full-time, entire year, because I started on January 1st, I sold one house, and that was at the end of November. So I went 11 months without a transaction, and then I had a transaction in November. And I made $1,800 after my broker split, which was 65%, by the way. My brokerage split was 65%, not to me, to my broker. I made $1,800 on that deal. And I rode high through Christmas. And then I got into January and I went, oh crap, I got to figure some stuff out. And I did. I figured a lot of amazing things out. I figured it out so much that I sold 3 houses the next year. Okay. How many of you would not survive on 1 and 3 deals in a year? Is it just me? Okay. The 3rd year I sold 6. The 4th year I sold over 100. Okay. So why am I lying to you and telling you I sold 36 transactions in my first year? Okay. Does anyone have any idea how I could possibly say I had 36 transaction sides my first year?
That was your average?
That was my average? No. Nope.
You sat in on 36 deals.
Okay. Good guesses. One more and then I'll just tell you. Good.
Referrals.
Hmm?
Referrals.
Referrals. All good guesses. So my 36 sides in my first year was my first year in Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay. I started in Virginia. I worked in 2 markets in Virginia. The market that I moved into where I did over 100 in my 4th year, that is where I started figuring things out. We ran really strong. After that first year, we were doing a business partner of mine and I together. We were doing over 220 deals a year, somewhere between 220 and 250 each year for multiple years. And then for some strange reason, I got the bug to move. And I moved to a new area where I knew this many people. And I had this many leads. And I had this much business structure. And I just moved. I don't know why. I wanted to. Okay. And I quickly realized that, oh man, I forgot how to build a business. Okay. So I had to sit back, take a step back and think about how to build a business. So I effectively started a brand new business. And that was the year that I sold 36 transaction sides in that first year. So is it my first year in real estate? No. But I want to show you that the principles that I'm going to talk to you guys about today were born out of my first year in a new market without a team and without any contacts and without any leads. It was a cold market. And instead of saying, hey, I'm just going to spend a whole bunch of money, instead of saying I need to put my transaction checklist together, I went back and I thought of the activities that I needed to do to actually generate and create a business for myself. Okay. And at this point, I do mostly coaching. So anybody that says, Bruce, how many transactions do you do now? It's been several years since I've been heavily involved in transactions. My wife and I still do over 20. She takes care of the majority of those, but we don't do a ton of transactions. What I am focused on now is coaching and training. Now, the majority of you guys already knew that, so I'm going to move on. Okay. So one day I was sitting back in the early days of being in North Carolina. I was sitting in a coffee shop and I overheard a kind of a accountability discipleship type of conversation. So I'm sitting there in a coffee shop and these people are sitting, these 2 guys are sitting at a table next to me. And one of them says to the other, and they're obviously having a spiritual, religious-based spiritual conversation. And one person says to the other, he says, hey, if you're a Christian, you can't hide it. It's part of your DNA, and you can't hide your DNA. And a switch flipped in my brain, and I went, oh my gosh, all these investors, agents, service-based business owners, if they don't have what they want for their business, it's because they're demonstrating and they're showing a DNA that doesn't match that their audience doesn't recognize. They're saying, hey, I'm a professional in the real estate space, and their audience recognizes them as something else. Okay, does anyone else have that problem? Have you ever had the problem of saying, hey, I'm a real estate professional, I'm a real estate agent, and then your best friend goes and uses someone else? Just me, or does anyone else have that as well? You try to display and demonstrate your professionalism in the real estate space, and someone that should use you doesn't use you. Okay. And I'm going to argue that the DNA that they see in you, what they see is not that of the professional real estate professional that they're looking for. And that's not their fault. That's our fault. And it's not our fault, like shame on you, but it's our fault. Once we recognize it, now we can go to work fixing it.
Zoom here.
Now we can go to work fixing it. All right. So let's talk about DNA. So let's talk about DNA. So do I have any scientists here that are going to catch me when I start talking about DNA? Is there anyone here that's that knows a lot about this stuff more than me as a 20-year real estate agent might know? Okay. If not, I'm going to go ahead and open my mouth and hope I don't prove my real ignorance. Okay. So I went back and I started studying and looking at what DNA in the real world, DNA was comprised of. Does anyone know what it is? What is DNA made of?
Protein.
Protein? Yep. You know how many pieces of protein? By the way, it is protein. Yeah.
Hey, do you have an updated list for General Dynamics?
Okay, hold on one second. Okay. All right. So protein. So DNA is comprised of 4 protein molecules, okay? And a backbone. Okay. So you guys know what a double helix looks like, and I'm gonna back up. Okay. So we've got down here at the bottom, this is kind of a Agent DNA logo I've worked on. So all these little ladder rungs in a DNA molecule, all of these are proteins, and there's 4 of them. And if you don't like science and you don't like that this isn't your jam, I'll move on really quickly. I just want to kind of show you what happens here. So all these are proteins, and they are all contained inside of this kind of backbone, inside of this structure. And this structure is its own molecule. So your physical DNA is comprised, all DNA on Earth is comprised of 5 molecules. You've got the backbone or the structure, and you have 4 proteins inside of that backbone. And as I was studying this just a few years ago, I realized that our business DNA has the same thing. Okay. Another thing with your physical DNA is it's the building structure of all life. Okay. If you don't have DNA, you do not have life. Okay. DNA is also the clue that's left behind with every physical interaction. So it's the clue that we leave behind with every physical interaction. So, and this is where somebody's going to call me out, especially if you were a science major or something like that. If I were to pick this can up and put it down, I've left trace amounts of DNA on this can with my fingerprints. Now, your fingerprints aren't DNA, but your fingerprints do leave behind trace amounts of DNA. And if I had a detective here that knew how to run a fingerprint analysis or a DNA analysis on this, especially when I've taken a drink of it, they would tell you that I left behind clues as to who I am on this interaction, the interaction that I have with this can. So I want you guys to know that your DNA in real world is comprised of 5 molecules. That DNA is the structure of your business. And that DNA, every interaction that you have, every time you interact with your audience or your clients or your sphere of influence or your leads, you leave behind a clue as to who you are. Okay, so let's talk about your business DNA. Very, very simple. Your business DNA also has 5 molecules. There's only 5 things that you need to focus on in business, period. There's only 5 things. And I'm going to ask you guys what those 5 things are in a minute. So if you have an idea what the 5 areas of a business's focus need to be, start writing them down because I'm gonna ask for some ideas before I show you. Okay, so start thinking about it. This is a good practice as well because it makes you think. Your business DNA is the building structure of your business. And your business DNA is the clue that you leave behind with every business interaction. So every interaction that you have with the world, you leave a little bit of a clue behind. Okay. If you're not getting the business that you want out of your those that know you, it's simply because you haven't left enough clues or you're not leaving the right clues. Give you guys a couple of stories. One is a story about myself. And by the way, if you guys are chatting in questions, I'll look at those here shortly. One's a story about myself, and one's a story about a friend of mine in the financial services industry. So the story about me. I had a very good friend of mine. I knew him from childhood. We were really, really close friends, best friends. Went to school together, played sports together, were in each other's weddings, just a bunch of different things. And then we ended up in the same city, at not our hometown, several hours away. We were in the same city. So we were close friends. And one day, my friend calls me up and he said, Bruce, it's been a while since we've seen you. Would like to invite you over for dinner. Great. Perfect. We'll be there. So get in the car the day of dinner and start driving out of our neighborhood, drive onto the highway, drive into his neighborhood, turn down his street. And as I turn down his street, up in the future, because being in real estate, we all know we radar in. As soon as someone mentions the words real estate, house, you see a sign, you just kind of hone in on it. Law of attraction, basically. So I see off in the distance, I see a real estate listing sign. And it's in the same general area of where my friend lived. And I thought, somebody next to my buddy listed a house. And I start getting closer and closer. And I realized, no, it wasn't someone next to my buddy that listed a house. That listing sign from my best friend is in his yard. In his yard. So my first thought at that point is some stupid real estate agent put a sign in the wrong yard. Okay? Because that's the only logical conclusion that I could have come to. So I go to the front door and I said, hey, who accidentally put a sign in your yard? And he said, oh no, we've got the house listed. We wanted to invite you over in case you had a buyer. Okay. Slap in the face. Slap in the face. And now I've got to sit here for an entire evening having dinner with my former best friend. Okay. Has anyone ever experienced this? Anyone ever experienced anything like this? Okay. All right. So I've got to sit there and have dinner with, at the time, what I thought was my former best friend. And as I thought about it through dinner, I realized, hey, this is my fault. This is my fault. And, I'm not gaslighting myself. This is my fault because obviously I didn't demonstrate the DNA that he needed to see to think of me as the most trusted real estate professional in his world. So we ask what happened, and this is even more painful. We ask what happened, and he says, we went to an open house this weekend. I didn't know you were looking at houses. Well, I didn't want to bother you. Okay, I know how busy you are, is what he says. We went to an open house this weekend. We fell in love with this house, and the agent that's doing it said that she'd give us a deal if we listed our house with her too. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2 deals, 2 transactions that I didn't even know existed from, remember, my best friend who I met with all the time. Okay. So if you're in real estate and you have not had a friend of yours, a family member of yours, someone that you thought was just a no-brainer, guaranteed business, use someone else, you really haven't been in real estate long enough. Okay. It happens. It happens. And I'm going to argue that the majority of times when it happens, it's your fault. Why would it be your fault? Is because you didn't give them the reasons to think of you first. You didn't give them the reasons to think that you were the most credible, trusted person that they could go to. So, also a few years ago, second story, I have a financial advisor that's a good friend of mine, really good friend. And we went to coffee together, and we're sitting at coffee, and he says, Bruce, when are you going to let me manage your portfolio? And I was like, do you really want an answer? I'm coaching at this point. I'm a real estate coach, and I have no problem putting my coaching hat on and saying the hard thing. I said, do you really want an answer? And he said, yeah, I really want an answer. I said, right now, I know like 100 financial advisors. I have financial advisors coming out of my ears, and they're all asking for business. They're all asking for referrals. And I think of you as being one of my top 5 financial advisors. And if you want me to move money over for you to manage, then you're going to have to be number 1. And he said, what do you mean I'm only number 5? And I said, I'm just telling you where you rank. And I said, do you want to know how you can rank number 1? And he said, yeah. I said, do more of this. Get face to face with me more. Let's become friends. Let me see your content. Let me learn that you are the most credible. I said, I really like you, but I don't know what your investment strategies are. And I just haven't seen enough from you. Okay. You can be number 1. Apparently he didn't like the answer, and we've never spoken since. Okay. Not because of me. I thought I was being very helpful. Okay. Just telling him, look, you've got a lot of people that are out there that are also trying to build business. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys, you have a lot of competitors in the real estate space, in the probate space, that are agents and investors that are out there trying to win business. And our job is to have lots of meaningful interactions with those that see us, and demonstrate that we have the DNA of a real professional. If you're not getting the business you want, it's because someone else is either given a more clear presentation of their business DNA, or you just haven't given enough. It had enough interactions with an audience to show your DNA. Okay. Any questions on this before we actually dive into what the DNA is? All right, so let's go over our business DNA. So I told you guys it's 5 molecules. What are they? So let me get you guys to throw out some ideas of what are the only 5 things that you need to focus on if you're building a service-based business. And I know we're almost all in the real estate space, but some of you might have other businesses. So what are the only 5 things that you need to focus on if you're going to build a service-based business? What do you have for me? Any ideas?
Relationships.
Commission checks.
No,
I love it.
Relationships.
Oh, relationships. I thought you said commission checks.
You have commission on the mind.
Commission checks are the only thing that, yeah, no. Relationships. Okay. All right. What else?
Good service.
Cam, what was that?
Good service.
Good service. Good service. Okay. Somebody else chimed in. And if I ever don't call on you, it basically means that I heard your voice, but I couldn't see who it was. So what
follow up?
Follow up. So relationships,
Communication.
good service, follow up. What else?
Communication.
Pitch.
Communication.
Communication.
Credibility.
Doug. What else?
Credibility.
Credibility. Excellent.
Unique niche.
Unique niche. Love it.
Options.
Options. Okay. All right. A lot of these things that you're laying out, not all, but a lot of these things that you're laying out, a lot of these are going to camp underneath of a particular area, are going to camp under a particular area. And I love these. A lot of these things are symptoms of the core fundamental principle or the element. Okay. But really good. Do I have anything else before I get rolling with these?
You need business systems.
Business systems. Awesome. Good.
What you actually do.
What you do. Ah, yeah. A clear explanation of what you do. Ryan, contacts. Sarah, service. Steven, system. Okay, excellent. All right, guys. So here's what our DNA is actually going to be made of. And a lot of you all are going to recognize these, and you're probably going to say, hey, that my word was just a synonym for this. So number one, you've got to have an audience. Above all else, you must have an audience. Growing up, my dad was a pastor. So I grew up going to church 3 times a week. And we lived in the country, so I was in a farmhouse. It was just an old farmhouse built in 1889 was when the house that I grew up in was built. And in that area, you heated your house with wood. Okay. And the wood stove was always downstairs. And the way you would get heat upstairs in the freezing cold, the way you would get heat upstairs would just through floor vents. And man, I'm sure a lot of the parishioners in Dad's church would be very unpleased to know that I know all of their stories. Okay. Because when I was a kid, we'd go to bed and they'd be over for dinner. And I thought they were over for dinner because they were all just good friends, but they'd come over to dinner for counseling. They would have problems. And I got the dirt on all of them because I'd go to bed and I'd lay on top of the floor vent listening to the conversation that was coming through the vent with the heat from the wood stove. Okay. Heard a lot of stuff. All right. As a kid. And one of the things that I heard more often than anything else was people that would come over and they'd say, hey, I want to preach, or I want a bigger role, or how come you haven't put me in a leadership role, or how come you won't let me do this? And people would complain all the time over not being in a leadership role and not being given more responsibility. And my parents' conversation with them was always the same. You show me that there are people following you, and you will have an audience that you can minister to, that you can take a leadership role. But inevitably, it was always the people that had no audience and no one following them that would want a leadership role. Okay. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you're not having followers, if you don't have an audience, your business is not going to grow. So your audience is everything. You should have an audience. Now, I have an entire class that I teach on audience. We'll go over that at some point in the future. But you absolutely must have an audience. You need to have leads. You need to have warm prospects and a pipeline. If you guys are not using a CRM, or at minimum a whiteboard to track warm prospects that have a likelihood of selling or buying, selling for most of you on here, you don't have an audience. If you don't have a sphere of influence base that knows, likes, and trusts you, you don't have an audience. But you have to have an audience. I like to divide my audience into 2 different categories. So if you guys want to write this down, your audience should be divided into the 2 categories of a casual audience and a connected audience. Any guesses as to what the difference between a casual audience and a connected audience might be? Paul? Nope. Maybe that was just an accidental noise in the background. What's the difference between your casual audience and your connected audience?
Past clients and future clients.
Okay. Are they casual or connected?
Oh, I
Or
was
both?
just separating the two. Like
Ah,
a
okay.
casual would be someone that you haven't done business yet,
Okay.
and a connected would be someone you have.
All right. Cool. Anyone else? One more guess, and then I'll lay out the way I look at it. By the way, guys, one of the things I like to say is my way is not the way. My way of looking at business is just simply my way of looking at business. So if you guys have your own thought
What about
process in
trust?
some of these areas, we're there. Trust. It sounded like David. I can't see who said that. Who said that?
Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, perfect. I thought I heard your voice. Trust. All right. So here's what I like to say with your casual audience. These are the people that they watch you and you don't know them. They're watching you from a distance. Okay. I get this all the time, especially with the emergence of these video apps that are out there like TikTok and the Instagram Reels and different things like that. You put a piece of content out and you'll have 3 or 4 or 500 people that watch your video and 2 people that like and comment. Okay. And it's because you are building this casual audience of people that are looking at you from a distance. Your casual audience or your probate list, the people that are starting to know your name and they're saving your letters or they're visiting your website, but you don't know who they are yet. Okay. Your casual audience are the people that maybe you've met and maybe they're watching your social media. Maybe they're seeing some marketing, but there's just really no relationship between the two. And then your connected audience are anyone that you have a relationship with. Anyone you have a relationship with. And once you get a connected audience member, you should have a plan and a system for keeping them connected with you. Okay. Who has a email drip system? Who has a marketing system that you put people into that works for you once you have someone connected with you? Has anyone built that into their business? Okay. Michelle. All right. So we've got to build an audience. Okay. The next thing that we have to focus on in our business is our message. Our message. Boy, I see agents and investors, and I keep kind of pulling you investors in here to include you, and I want to include you. I see a lot of these mistakes from agents, more so than investors. But the message that I see agents deliver is just off-putting. Okay, or there is no message. They are so scared to say the wrong thing that they don't say anything at all. Okay. Is there anyone here, and I would guarantee that there are, so you can decide if you want to put yourself out there. I'm not going to call on you, but is there anyone here that you're like, I see the way that other agents market their business and promote their business and how they're constantly begging for referrals, and you go, I just can't do it, and therefore I keep my mouth shut. Is there anyone here that does that? You're like, I keep my mouth shut because the way that my competitors do it is so off-putting. Okay. Got at least one hand. I got 2. Okay. All right. So I feel like the preacher. I see that hand. Okay. No, I got at least a couple of people. I would guarantee there's a lot of you that are in that boat. You see what your competitors are doing and it's off-putting. Now, in a room like this, I would guarantee that there are a few of you that are the competitor that's doing it in an off-putting way. So there's some of you that are looking at the one that puts off and repels business and go, I'm not going to market and I'm not going to send my message out at all. And there's a few of you that put your message out there so aggressively and so thoughtlessly that it repels business away from you. Okay, so let me give you guys a statistic that I believe. I believe that for every person in your connected audience, someone that you know them, they know you, you should get 20. So for every 100 people in your connected audience, it's 20%. So for every 100 people in your connected audience, they know you, you know them, you should get 100 transactions or 20 transactions per year. 20 transactions per year. If you're not getting that, out of 100 people that you know and they know you, then it means that you're either repelling them with your message or you're not sending your message out and they're simply thinking of other people first. Okay. So I want you guys to ask yourself, am I getting the business that I need to out of my connected audience? Now, I realize that markets shift and adjust, and sometimes 100 people and only one of them does a deal that year. Okay. Sometimes it's less. There are some ebbs and flows, but as a whole, 20% of those that you're connected with should send you business if you've done a great job of building the audience and connecting with them with the proper appealing message. The proper appealing message. So what are some ways that we can repel an audience with our message? How do we repel an audience with our message? Any examples? David.
Politics.
Politics. Anything else?
Religion.
Bad deals if you're a wholesaler.
Religion. What was the wholesaler?
If you have just an overpriced deal.
An overpriced deal. Yep. Absolutely. You could repel by overpricing things, by showing.
I've always, too, Bruce, I've always told people all my agents that you don't want to confuse your audience by, I separate my wholesale deals, my assignments, my investments, and then my regular real estate. I don't confuse brands with anybody.
How does that not contribute to some confusion?
Good point. I don't know.
I don't know. If you take a step back and think about it, maybe it doesn't. It doesn't have to contribute to confusion. But a lot of times our message confuses people.
Well, not to interrupt you, but
Unique
I used to have an
sales
agent
proposition.
that sold those oils. So she did real estate and the oil scents or whatever. I just thought that's a waste of time.
Yep. And Douglas said unique selling proposition. Absolutely true. Let me tell you guys what I did. And this was a mistake. And I'd built up a strong base of business. So I was still doing this. So I moved to North Carolina in 2015. In 2016, I started coaching. And I had not coached. I'd run a team. We'd done a lot of deals up until that point, but I had not coached. And I started coaching. And man, I loved coaching. And then I started doing group classes. And then I ran into a real estate client of mine that wanted her properties managed. She wanted to keep properties. And so I was a property manager. And then I would deal with another person that was a first-time buyer. And I went, I help first-time buyers. And then I would deal with someone else and I'd say, hey, I'm a probate expert. And I'd deal with someone else and I'd say, I'm a listing expert. And I'd deal with someone else and I'd say, I do general business coaching. And everybody that I ran into in the world, I would try to have a solution for everyone. And I found that it started confusing my audience. And this is where my story of my best friend came from. So the story of him listing with someone else. And when I asked him why he'd done it, he said, Bruce, I'm just not sure that you do what I needed. Okay. And it was a very legitimate reason. And it showed me that that I was confusing him with my message. My message was confusing. Now, before we move on, a coach of mine got me this book because I was coaching and I realized, hey, I'm just confusing people. I might be good at all these different things, but I need to be more clear and more concise and cut the confusion out with my audience. And he got me this journal that I use. And at the bottom of it, it says, hold your image. And I realized that I needed to pick an image that I was going to portray. Pick something, a DNA that I was going to put out there and be consistent with it. And instead of trying to match different services to different audiences, just pick one. And so you guys recognize that, yes, I do some real estate transactions, but I present myself as a coach and a trainer. Okay. It is really hard for me to not go chase real estate business all the time, but I recognize that I'm telling one person that I'm a realtor and another person I'm a trainer and another person I'm a coach is not helping me. So being able to kind of consolidate a single image and a single presentation is very beneficial to your message. Another thing with your message is you need to be able to demonstrate, and this goes to Doug's point, a unique selling proposition that's not too pushy. So on the prospecting side, on those that are casual audience that maybe are hearing our voice and our name and our service for the first time, we need to be able to properly craft a message that is appealing and not repulsive. Repulsive is the only word that I can say. I had someone that I coached one time, and he said, Bruce, I don't know why I'm not getting anywhere with my prospects. And I said, what are you talking about? And he was in the probate space. And he said, I give people a call and they answer the phone and I tell them what I do. And he says, they end up hanging up on me. And I went, well, how's that conversation go? And he said, well, I tell them what I do and I ask what I can take off of their plate. And for some reason, they're too dumb to know that they need my service. And that's what he said. And I was like, well, what do you say when they say, no, I don't need anything? He said, well, let me tell you why you're wrong and you do need me. And I said, what do they say then? He said, they hang up on me and I can't get it through their thick heads that they need me. Okay. That's an example of a message that repels an audience. So I'm going to encourage everyone here, without going into a lot of detail of how, I'm going to encourage everyone here to evaluate the words that you're saying and what you're saying to your audience, either through prospecting, marketing, or relationships, what you're saying that demonstrates value as a real estate professional without pushing them away. And there is a happy medium, and the happy medium is not, I don't talk about real estate. That's not what it is. There is a medium where you can find a balance and build trust and credibility, and you can start getting the business that you need, but you're going to have to give the proper message. Okay. And some of these are very simple, very, very simple. If we have time, I'll give you some examples. So the third piece of your business DNA is your brand. It's the image that you put forward. Okay. You know, I told you guys that your DNA are the clues that you leave behind with interactions. So it's the DNA that you leave behind on the can. Okay. This is your brand. Those of you that recently came through Probate Mastery, this is going to seem familiar to you. So I'm going to go backward on my slides here real quick and say that this slide right here is mostly made up of blank space. So there's not a lot on this slide. This slide represents someone in your audience, one of your leads. This represents what they think about you. Okay, you call someone brand new and you say, hey, I'm calling about 123 Main Street. I'm a real estate investor. I'm a real estate professional. This is what they think about you. They know that you say you're a real estate professional, but they don't know if you're credible. They don't know how long you've done it. They don't know if you're any good. They don't know if you have any services. They are a blank slate. They think that much about you. Okay. Every time you interact with that person, you put another piece of the puzzle together for them on the screen. Another interaction, another piece of the puzzle comes together. Another interaction, another piece of the puzzle comes together. Another interaction, another piece. And before long, with your interactions that are value-based, using the right words, they will begin to form a cohesive image of A, who you are, and B, more importantly, how you're relevant to their life. Okay, you need to show them how you're relevant to their life. And the first time they hear of you, they don't know. So why wouldn't they go use someone else when they sell a house? Why would you get mad at someone that knows 50 people that all said the same thing and they use one of the other 50 when all you did is say, hey, I'm a real estate professional? Okay, so when you are building your brand, you need to recognize that it's little brick by brick with your interactions and putting messages in front of them. It's brick by brick building a brand. And every time you put another brick into the building, they start to see who you are. And remember, more importantly, how you're relevant to their life. If what you say every single time is the same thing over and over and over again, they might not see enough of the puzzle. Okay. If you interact with them once a year, they're not going to use you. I've lost deals. I've lost deals this year with people that I had great prospecting conversations with. Spectacular. I put them on my whiteboard and then I didn't follow up for 2 months. And when I did, they listed their house. They sold their house. Okay. And I got mad at them and I said, "How dare you sell your house? You told me that I'd have a chance." I didn't get mad at them. That isn't what happened. But that's what happens with a lot of people. "How dare you sell your house? You told me I'd have a chance." But you don't know that they have other people that are going out building a brand. And if you think about it properly, you can put the proper plan in place. Right. So I want you guys to build your brand and recognize that your brand is every interaction that you have with someone in your audience. Whether you're an agent, you're building a brand with your sphere of influence and past clients. Whether you're an investor or an agent, you're building it through interactions with probate leads, foreclosure leads, wherever you get your audience from. Every time you do have an interaction with them, they start to think of you a little bit better, a little bit differently, a little bit more positively. They start to recognize that you are very relevant to their life and their situation. Okay, you see, and I'm going to use you guys as an example here real quick. I'm going to stop my share. I'll come back to the share in just a second. This is important. Okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing with you all, and I'm going to tell you. And if you don't like this, please forgive me. Okay. I know that everyone on this call, at some point in your career, you're going to face a challenge that you could use a class, a training, or private coaching to solve. You may not be there today. You might not be there today. My goal is to be so relevant in your life that when you enter that window of time where you need someone to coach you that you trust, that I'm the first person and the only person that you think about. Okay. That's my goal with everyone on this call. That's my goal with everyone that has taken a free class from me. Okay. Now, your goal as a real estate professional is to recognize that at some point in everyone who is in your audience's life, they're going to enter a window of time when they need a real estate professional, investor, or agent that they trust. Okay. Our job is not to convince them to use you when they don't need you. That's not our job. Our job is to be the most relevant at the time that they enter that window. Okay. And if they enter that window and they go to someone else, it just means someone else was more relevant. So when you guys are building your brand, you're building your brand with the understanding that my goal is to be the most relevant, and then I'll let that consumer decide when they need the most relevant person. And I know 20% of the time, my audience is going to need someone relevant on a yearly basis. Okay. So I want to be there for those 20%, and I want to be the most relevant person when they enter that window of time. If I'm selling, if I'm selling houses. Okay. Now, I've put my intentions out with you guys, and I hope that it gives you a level of comfort putting your intentions out with your audience. I have absolutely no problem telling someone that's in my audience that's a consumer, a real estate consumer. I have no problem telling them, look, my job, my goal is to be the most trusted real estate professional that you know, and not convince you to buy or sell a house, not convince you to refer me, but it's to be the most trusted and credible real estate professional you know in the area, so that if you ever enter that time when you need, or you know someone that needs a real estate professional, you can't wait to call me. Okay. That's how you convey, that's how you put a message together and let your audience know exactly what you want to be for them. Now, how many of you were not off-put by the way that I put off by the way that I said that? How many of you that didn't? If you were my someone that I knew in my market, and you're a homeowner or a potential home buyer in 5 years, how many of you don't get mad at me for saying that? How many of you now you know exactly what I do and why I would be relevant to you. How many of you maybe even like me more after saying that? Okay. Now, I almost said, how many of you did I put off by saying that? And I thought better of it. So don't raise your hand if I put you off by saying that. But I've used this many, 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 many times. And when I do, I always get people starting to refer and use me because now they know, because I've put into words, now they know what I want from the relationship and they know how I can be relevant to the relationship. And if I offend them, then they're just not my client. So in telling you guys that my goal is to be the coach that you think of first, if you need coaching, if that puts you off, I recognize that our relationship, you're not the client for me, and that's fine. Okay. And I want you to understand that you can say the same thing to your audience. When you talk to your probate leads, when you talk to your sphere of influence, when you talk to whatever other lead that you are working on, I want you to feel comfortable saying that. Listen, I know that you told me it's going to be 6 or 7 months before you decide. Can I tell you what my goal is? Yep. My goal is to give you so much value and build so much trust that you wouldn't think of giving anyone else a chance. Now, I recognize that I haven't done that, so I want to help you through the process. I don't need to force you to do business and sell a house before you're ready. I want you to just call me. Is that fair? That's a clear message that conveys professionalism and puts your intent out, and there's no confusion and ambiguity now. Angelica, go ahead, unmute yourself. Okay, you raised your hand to say not me. Okay, if you had a question, you can chime in. All right, so you're back to the business DNA. So we need to have a clearly defined audience that's consistently growing. Okay, we need to have a message that doesn't confuse, but also doesn't repel. Okay, we need to have a brand, a plan to put ourselves in front of our audience and give them meaningful interactions. And then we need to put a business plan together. So our map is the plan. Okay, so I want you guys to sit down at some point and go through and say, how many deals am I doing this year? Where are they going to come from? And what's it going to take in each one of these areas to do these deals? And I'm going to give you a really high level overview of what this might look like. I want 36 transactions this year. It's just a example. I want 36 transactions this year. I want 12 to come from probate. I want 12 to come from my sphere of influence. I want 6 to come from buyer leads. I want 3 to come from open houses. I want 3 to come from networking referrals. Okay, that's 36. Okay, then I go look at how I'm going to get 12. Just saying, hey, I'm going to get 12 from probate doesn't mean anything if my steps don't match the results. So when I look at the probate business, I say, if I'm going to get 12, it means that I need to, how many leads do I need to start with? So let's pretend that you convert 2% of your leads. That means that you need 600 leads. So now you've decided, okay, I need 600 leads. Now, how am I going to convert 2%? David, how are you going to convert 2% of your leads?
Sorry, I was reading the email.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So I need 600. So I want 12 deals in probate. How am I going to do that? I need 600 leads if I convert 2%. Now let's figure out how to convert 2%. What are you going to do?
I'm going to, if it's probate, I'm going to separate them into the highest priority that I do. Either the ones that need the most help and the ones that don't need help. And statistically, I know the ones that are out of state need the most help. So they're going to be on my call list until they tell me not to call them again.
Yep, out of state. And they're going to be on a call, maybe mail, maybe door knocking. Okay. Maybe Facebook messages. And there's other things as well. So I'm going to go, okay, what's it going to take to convert 2% of this many leads to get my deals? And I'm going to put that plan in place. You're not just going to put the goal. You're going to say, what's it going to take to reach the goal in this area, Okay. Then you're going to look at your other areas of business. And let's say it's sphere of influence. You go, okay, I need 12 deals from my sphere of influence. Okay, what's that mean for me? For me, that means I need 60 people that I'm pretty close with, that I'm very close with in my sphere of influence. Okay. Remember, my goal is 20% are going to use or refer me on a yearly basis. So 60 people that I have a strong relationship with means I get 12 transactions. Okay. So what's that strong relationship look like? It means that I have 4 meaningful interactions with every single one of those 60 per year. Meaningful interactions are not begging for business. It means that they get 6 marketing pieces from me per year, that they get invited to 4 things per year. So every meaningful interaction means I need to invite them to something. So I invite to dinners, I invite to parties, I invite to sporting events, I invite to networking events, I invite them to things, I invite them to coffee. That invitation is an interaction in itself, and the event is an interaction. Okay. And then I do marketing, and I let my marketing, I'm getting too teachy right now instead of thinking, but I let my marketing sell me, and I let my interactions build the friendship. So when I show up to people, it's not, hey, please refer me, please use me. I may say it periodically, but it's more of building a connection and a friendship. But you better bet if I want 12 transactions from my sphere of influence, that I have a very specific plan for putting myself in front of those 60 people that it's going to take to get me the 12. And if I have not had that many interactions with the 60, I'm not going to get my 12 deals. It's all math. Now, sometimes we're guessing at the math when we first start, but I want you to guess. It's okay if you guess. The point is you have a plan with step by step of how you're going to interact with these audience segments to get the deals that you want. Any questions or comments there? Nancy, good to see you. I will see you soon. Have fun in your MLS rules class. All right, so come up with a business map. Now that you have your audience, your message that's attractive, your brand, the interactions that you're going to put into the world, your map or your plan, now you need rituals that help fulfill your plan. So you've got to have rituals. What are those rituals you guys are going to incorporate into your business, or that you have incorporated, that help fulfill the plan? What rituals do you guys have? Rituals. You got to have some
Time
rituals.
blocking.
Time blocking. Okay, time blocking on what?
Well, I do the first thing at 8 o'clock, and then I do it for a certain amount of time, which is prospecting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I have lead follow-up. Then I have working on my business and developing the different pillars of that I'm an expert in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I am Bruce, I've been around. I've been in business 21 years, and I will state that I really believe in you. And I can't wait to coach with you, because I've had coaches, and you are the real deal.
Thanks, Douglas. Appreciate it.
Well, you know a lot. And so yeah, I need branding and marketing.
Okay. So you start to build the rituals around your branding and marketing, or your prospecting, or as Michael White said, blood sacrifice on the full moon. Okay. Discipline. Okay. What are the rituals that you guys put into your business to help fulfill this plan, this business plan, this DNA map? All right. We've got prospecting. What else? Anything else? We've got consistent marketing. Okay, so if you're on social media, you should be consistent. You should have rituals for when you work on your business. What's the difference between on your business versus in your business? What's the difference between on and in?
One's more admin and business developing and internal infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one is out talking, meeting people, trying to generate leads.
Okay. Yep.
That's how I see it.
Yep. So I want you guys to have rituals where you are on your business. So often we're in our business. We're managing transactions, we're meeting clients, we're on appointments, we're prospecting, we're doing a lot of things. We need to be able to pull it back and work every week in a ritual with one of our rituals, with one of our habits on the business systems. So those systems need to be things like drip campaigns for people. A lot of people get squeamish on drip campaigns. A drip campaign is basically how you keep your message in front of your audience. Now, how many of you are squeamish on sending your audience members, your sphere of influence, an email drip campaign? How many of you get a little nervous over that? Okay. If you get nervous, please unmute yourself and share with me why or what about it makes you nervous.
I don't have enough messages and I don't have a clue how to get started.
Okay. Not enough messages, not a clue how to get started. Sarah, you're off mute. What do you think?
Yeah. The reason I get freaked out about it is because I didn't do it for so long. And then I went back and back gathered and then started doing it and got a lot of backlash and kind of unsubscribe me, blah, blah, blah kind of thing.
Okay. Yep.
So hurt my feelings.
Yeah. So people unsubscribing, losing audience members. So here's my question. If you lose someone out of your audience, were they really going to be a client anyway?
No.
Absolutely not.
No. What's interesting is that a lot of them actually are my clients.
Got it. Okay.
And then also unsubscribing from some of my blah, blah, blah emails.
I see.
And I'm like,
I see.
Shoot.
Okay. So that actually goes to another challenge with drip campaigns that I'll share in a minute. And this is a rabbit trail, guys. I'm not here to talk about drip campaigns. I'm just showing you something that you can do create on your business, just one idea. But it led me to this because I hear this every week, multiple times a week. So if I heard it from someone on this call this week, I'm not picking on you as an individual. I hear it every week. Bruce, I'm scared to put a drip campaign. It's annoying. Okay, so what are some other reasons why you might be squeamish and nervous about creating a drip marketing campaign for your audience?
Not quite sure what to say.
Don't know what to say. Yep.
Most
Perfect.
people do not know or will not do what they hate.
Okay, so are you saying that you hate being on the receiving end of a drip campaign, or are you saying that you hate writing content emails?
Well, like with me, I get about 7,000 spam emails from God knows everybody. So,
yeah.
They are hesitant to do what they hate, which is send spam.
Yep.
And guess what? You have to.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys that are on this call, how many of you showed up to this call because you received an email from me?
Okay. Me, but it's different.
Different? Yeah.
I got a Facebook notification.
A Facebook notification. Okay. Everyone here, I think everyone here, unless you've unsubscribed from me, I think everyone here did receive an email notification from me. Okay. So I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing. And we had 68 people on the call earlier, 60. So 8 people hated it. But 60 people on the call now who all probably got an email from me coming in here. Maybe you saw the Facebook. Maybe you saw the email. So the idea is, or the question is, does my email, when I send emails out, does it turn your stomach and make you hate me and never want to interact? Okay. And I hope no. I hope no. Now, legitimately, I do lose people when I email market. I do. Today I lost 5. I lost 5 people through email marketing with my admittedly aggressive email sequence today, because you guys got 3. That's very aggressive. I don't like doing that. And 5 people unsubscribed. But let me ask those of you that are here, why are you here? Why did my emails not repel you and make you unsubscribe? Why did it make you show up?
Education.
Because you said you were going to send 3 aggressive emails. Like
Yeah.
you just owned it in your first one. I was like, oh, okay, I'm expecting these. I don't actually think I got the 3rd one, by the way.
Oh man, that's a shame. Okay. Check your spam folder. If you marked me as spam, it might be there.
I didn't mark you as spam. I might have missed it because,
Yeah. Okay. So, education, and you want to learn. Okay. If you want to learn, it means, remember, let's go back to our window of time. You might not have wanted to learn 6 months ago if you were ignoring things. I'm here and I'm credible when you enter the window of time where you want to learn. Okay. So, the biggest reason that those of you that are here is because, I I don't think that I come off too salesy and pushy, and I give value with my content. Okay. And if you're holding back on creating things like drip campaigns, it probably means that you just haven't thought about the value that you're going to put together yet. So I'm just going to encourage you. We're not going to go into a big drip campaign class right now, but I'm just going to encourage you, if you're worried about putting marketing messages in front of your audience, it probably means that you're thinking that marketing has to be pushy and salesy, and it does not. Marketing needs to keep you relevant and credible and trusted and a friend. Okay. So you just need to be credible and relevant at the time that they enter that window. And if you lose some people with your marketing, you lose some people with your marketing. You won't lose most. And if people ignore you for a little while, it doesn't mean they're going to ignore you forever. It's crazy because I'm doing these short form videos that are geared toward investors and agents, and I'm getting real estate clients from those. My message is not relevant to a real estate home buyer or seller audience. Okay. Yet, because it's consistent and it goes out and my home buyer and seller audience sees my message, they still engage with me too. So I'm going to encourage you guys to build systems into your business with on the business activities and rituals. That was a really long rabbit trail that help carry your brand forward and help carry your business forward. Other rituals are prospecting. Other rituals are maybe working out. Other rituals, okay, where did we start this whole class with? The number one job of a business owner is to think. Other rituals are thinking. Me being fully accountable, this is one that I have not been doing, but I used to do every single morning. I did a 20-20-20 ritual. 20-20-20 stands for 20 minutes of getting my blood flowing with exercise. It's not the workout of the day. It's just like, go for a walk, ride a bike, do something to get a sweat going. 20 minutes of mind work or meditation or prayer or quiet time or something, depending on what your kind of spirituality is. So 20 minutes of something physical, 20 minutes of something physical, or physical, spiritual, then 20 minutes of learning something new. And I just wanted to and want to learn something new every day, even if it's not real estate focused. So that was my ritual, and that would get me primed for the rest of the day. Some people's ritual is to sit down and envision their day ahead. Some people, their ritual is to sit and think about their business. What can they improve for 30 minutes in the morning? But put rituals in place. All right. So, I think I'm about to wrap it up. Okay. Nope. I'm going to give you guys a scorecard. going to give you all a scorecard. It's been a while since I taught this class. It's probably been 2.5 years, so I can't remember what's coming up on my own slides. Do I have any comments or questions on the on kind of your business DNA? Hopefully this has been helpful. Is anyone kind of thinking about their business a little bit differently after this class than you were before? Man, I was not sharing my screen that whole time. Forgive me. I thought I was sharing my screen. So I'm going to give you all a scorecard. And basically you're going to print it off. I wish this was fillable. I'll make it fillable next time I do the class, but I am going to drop in chat a scorecard that you can fill out for yourself. And then I'm going to share my screen and show it to you. So basically what this is I want you all going through these activities, these 5 elements of your agent DNA, and I want you giving yourself a scale of 1 to 10 score. And we're going to try to figure out where you are out of 100. So each one of these kind of has 2 main categories. So your rituals break down into your consistent behaviors, and then a real understanding of what your why is, why you're doing it. So give yourself a score on how your consistent rituals and behaviors are, scale of 1 to 10, and then give yourself a score on whether you know why you're doing it. Okay, why are they your rituals? If you don't know why, you're not going to be able to implement the rituals. Okay, scale of 1 to 10. This is just a pulse check, guys. Your audience. So how engaged is your audience? How engaged are they? Scale of 1 to 10. And then how well is your audience growing? If you're building your business on sphere of influence, did you add people to your CRM, to your email list, to your list of connections this year, this week, this month? Okay. Scale of 1 to 10. Message. So how's your narrative? I like to break your message into conversation style. So what do you say when you're having a conversation with someone? Does it cause them to use you and refer you, or does it cause them to ignore you? Let me give you an example of causing them to ignore you. Hey, don't forget, I'm never too busy for your referrals. If you know anyone buying or selling a house, please send them my way. Okay. I run from that type of message. So is your conversational narrative something that gains clients, or does it push them away? Do you even bring real estate up in conversation? Okay. Maybe it's a 0. Okay. And then your marketing narrative. So your message also needs to be delivered in marketing. That's things like drip campaigns. So how does your audience know what you do through marketing? Scale of 1 to 10. Business map is your business plan. So do you have a long-term goal? Do you have a short-term goal with weekly or monthly activities that you're targeting? And then what's your brand look like? So look at your brand. How clear is it to your audience what you do? And then do you have marketing messages, marketing sequences that go out? Okay, so I just want you guys giving yourselves a score here. Scale of 1 to 10 on each one of these. If you're killing every single category, you're going to have 100 total score. If you don't, it just means that you have some work to do. So all this is a pulse check so that you know some areas that your business might need some focus on. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, I think I kind of know the answer, but I guess I get a little stumped on thinking about my messaging versus my messaging for my specific niche that like for probate, right? I don't want my whole situation to be all of my messaging is probate related because I don't want to isolate the rest of my clients. And so is there like a percentage I should go for or any words of wisdom on that?
Yeah, so obviously when we're dealing with our probate audience, so we have multiple different types of audiences, and everybody here probably has a probate audience. So that's going to be a probate and estate specific message. Okay. Your audience that's not probate, if they're your legitimate connections, sphere of influence, past clients, things like that, it needs to be a tiny sliver of probate. Okay, and let me actually tell you what the message needs to be with those that you know. Okay. Once a year, I do. Again, this is a way, not the way. It's just my way. One time per year, I want to have, and I actually have it on a checklist, I want to have a meaningful real estate hat conversation. Okay. When I interact with my audience, sometimes I have Bruce the friend hat on. Other times I have Bruce the sports fan hat on. Other times I have Bruce the let's go rock climbing hat on. Okay. I have different hats, but one time per year, I have a conversation with my real estate hat on and I take charge of the conversation. Now, if I do this every single time I interact with them, they're going to start to ignore me. So when they hear my voice on the phone or in person, I don't want them going, oh, great, here comes another pitch. Okay. That's what my marketing is for, guys. My marketing will do a little bit of selling. When I'm talking to them, I'm not necessarily trying to beg for business and sell. I'm trying to be a great friend that they love. Okay. Once a year, though, I call or I go face to face and I say, hey, can I put my real estate hat on? Okay. So it immediately sets the tone and the direction for the conversation. Okay. And at that point, anything that I say about real estate or asking for referrals or talking about a specific niche that I do where I'm bringing probate up, it's accepted by them. They know that that's what that interaction is going to be about. And so this is where I may pull probate into a day-to-day conversation. So it might go something like this. Sarah, could I put my real estate hat on? I was thinking about you. I just had a couple of minutes. Do you have a second?
Yeah,
You go,
go ahead.
yeah. Okay. So Sarah, I know, obviously, I'm in real estate. I'm not trying to beg for business. I wanted to bring something up though, because I realized that a lot of my friends didn't know this. One of the niches that I focus on is estates and probate, essentially the process of inheriting property or maneuvering through settling an estate that's been inherited. And so often agents really mess up the process for their friends and clients. And I just wanted to let you know that that was something that I focused on. I have no idea if you ever run into anyone that is going through probate or inheriting real estate. If you do, that's a specialty of mine. I know that's kind of weird for me to say. You probably weren't expecting me to call and say, hey, I'm a probate expert, but I just realized a couple of days ago, a lot of my friends didn't know that. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Now, how's everything going? Good. Listen, my appointment's here. I got to jump off, but let's go grab that coffee next month.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm very clearly at that point pulling in estates and probate into a conversation to bring their awareness to that specialty without trying to say, hey, this is all I do, and sort of eliminating all the other possible business that we could do together.
Got it.
Okay, so every year I have a real estate hat conversation with everyone in my connected audience, everyone that I want to have a connection with. The rest of the time, my interactions are mostly about fun. If they bring up real estate, I'll talk about it. But I try to give them a reason to bring real estate up, but I want them to feel like they're the one that brought it up through the rest of the year. All right. Questions. I think we are pretty much wrapped up for the day. I'm known for crash landings on classes, and this is a crash landing unless you guys have some questions. All right, so fill out your scorecard. I think the majority of you probably saw the other email that we put out. I had not made this widely known. If you came through Probate Mastery recently, you probably heard about it. If you have not been through Probate Mastery recently, we do now have an intensive business coaching program. Several of our coaches are on this call, several of our students. We officially launched it a couple of months ago, but I didn't make it known to everyone until today. So if you want like intensive, seriously intensive real estate coaching, weekly coaching, weekly workshops, weekly prospecting, full access to me, different things like that. We have coaching available. The best thing is that I withhold almost every penny that I make. Not quite. I ask students to put a little bit of skin in the game with an investment, but not much. I make most of the coaching fee out of a referral fee when you close deals. So you don't have to spend big bucks to get into it. So if anyone wants to talk about that, go look at the email that I sent out. Or if you saw this, if you're here, you probably saw the email. If you can't find the email where it talks about coaching and you want information or you want in, go on Facebook, the Facebook group, because I know that's where the rest of you guys came from, and just start a thread, ask a question, and I'll respond. Okay. Dre.
Hey, quick question for you. You said a book you were talking about earlier. Do you know the name of that book that you recommended?
A book. What book did I
You said
recommend?
something about your coach recommended you a book. It was when you were doing the 5 DNAs in your business.
It was his journal.
Oh, it was my journal. Yeah. Yep. It was my journal.
Okay.
Yep. I've got about 1 million books that I can recommend. If you guys want to really have a way of thinking about your business really well, I recommend 10X is easier than 2X. That's a great book. 10X is easier than 2X if you really want to go down the rabbit trail of retooling how you think about your business. All right. So anybody that did already request an information call from the email this morning, I have a bunch. I am doing my best to make sure you guys all get a call today. If you're on here and haven't gotten a call yet, and if you don't today, it's just because I'm trying to get through everyone. But I do look forward to speaking with everyone that wanted info on the coaching. And we will do a class again in 2 weeks on Wednesday, 12:30. Next week, Wednesday at 12:30 is a role play. So I want you guys to jump on there and practice your probate prospecting technique. So that's probate specific. And then we'll be back for a class in 2 Wednesdays at 12:30 Eastern time. So every single week on this exact Zoom link, you've got something going on. It's either going to be a role play at 12:30 Eastern time on Wednesdays, or it's going to be a workshop where we're teaching something. Appreciate everybody being here, and see you guys soon.